Jupiter is the planet of expansion. Third house is the house of self efforts and communication. The planet of expansion into your first Kama Trikona house, your first Upacha house. So, what's going to happen? Keep watching. In last video, we have discussed about the Mars in the third house, Venus in the third house. In this video, we are going to talk about the effects of Jupiter in the third house. Namaste and welcome to Pramanik Astrology channel. I'm your host Prasad Mahazani. Help you raise your vibrations and become your true self with the help of Vedic Astrology. If you have any question, add me on Instagram at Pramanik Astrology. And if you are looking for readings and consultation, check out the link into the description section and go for a complete horoscope analysis. Jupiter in the third house of your horoscope. What is Jupiter? The first thing which comes to my mind when I think of Jupiter is positivity. I love Jupiter for its positivity. Okay, wherever Jupiter is placed in an aspects, it brings in its positivity. The next signification of the Jupiter is the higher belief. Jupiter is all about the ninth house things like higher belief, positivity, optimism. It is the orientation towards your life. It is the faith. Okay, so Jupiter is also about the faith. Jupiter is all about the goodness in life. So whatever lordship of the Jupiter, it will bring in the goodness of life. So wherever you have Jupiter placed in, it brings in its positivity, optimism, and more so expansion in the area of that house. Jupiter is also about the increase in your life. Okay, we have talked about the Saturn, which is all about the restriction, which is all about the distrust, which is all about the death, which is all about the disabilities, which is all about the restrictions, subordination. Okay, so Jupiter is a polar opposite of the Saturn. Jupiter is all about that positivity which brings in life. Okay, and Saturn is all about death. Saturn is the signification of the Kala. Saturn is the restriction. Saturn is the distrust. Saturn is a critical and analytical thinker, whereas Jupiter is about the faith. He doesn't analyze. He takes the leap into the unknown with the help of faith. Yes, there is life beyond death. Yes, there is God. Yes, there is some supernatural power governing this universe. I believe. And he just takes the leap into the unknown. And Jupiter blesses it with its positivity and optimism. What is the third house of your horoscope? Third house is your inner self. Third house is the house of your self-effort. Third house is the house of communication. Third house is the house of your marketing skills and media skills. Third house is basically the house of your skills. Okay. Third house is also the house of the parakram or courage. Third house is also the house of your self-effort. Third house also represents the siblings. Third house is also about the short distance travel. Third house also signifies your neighbors. So what happens when we have the positivity and expansion of Jupiter into the third house? Boom! First of all, third house is a house of communication, and Jupiter is a planet of positivity and optimism. So the person with the Jupiter in the third house, when he communicates, his words have the power of optimism. People get inspired and motivated by the words of this person. Third house is the house of your skills. When Jupiter is into the third house, it gives that philosophical kind of communication to that person, because Jupiter is all about that philosophy and ninth house things, and the third house is about the communication. So the communication is getting impacted by the optimism, higher belief, positivity of Jupiter, and it reflects into its communication. Okay, third house is the house of your skills, And when Jupiter is into the third house, the person is very good at teaching. Okay, maybe as a hobby, because this is not the 10th house, this is the third house, which is the house of your hobbies. Third house is also the house of your siblings. And when a person have Jupiter into the third house, this person enjoys a very cordial relationship with their siblings. And most of the times, the person with the Jupiter in the third house is kind of a guide or a philosopher to their younger siblings. Their younger siblings look up to this guy for advice. Jupiter is the significator for the philosophy, guidance, spirituality, and now it is into the third house of siblings and communication. So the younger sibling of this person will always seek advice from this person. Third house is also the house of neighbors, and now it has the positivity of the Jupiter. So they enjoy cordial relationships with their neighbors. They often have a very good relationship with the neighbors. Third house is also the house of your self-effort and the courage. Jupiter is not a malefic, but it is a royal planet. Okay, Jupiter is the guru of the devas. Remember? So the Jupiter has that wisdom. So Jupiter is bringing in the wisdom into the third house of skills, communication, and all the parakram. So the person with the Jupiter in the third house has that wisdom into their self-effort. So their parakrama, their parakrama or their efforts, the self-efforts are well directed. Their self-efforts are directed with the blessings of the Jupiter. Third house is also the house of short distance travel, and the Jupiter is the planet of abundance and expansion. So these people have a very frequent short distance travel. From third house, Jupiter also aspects the seventh house of horoscope with the fifth aspect. Okay, so the person with the Jupiter in the third house will always be teaching something to their spouse. From third house, Jupiter aspects the seventh house of the horoscope. What is seventh house? Seventh house is the house of your spouse, your marriage partner. Seventh house is also about your karma. Seventh house is also about your karma. Seventh house is also about your karma. What? Yes, seventh house is also about your karma, because seventh house is 10th places away from the original 10th house. That is, it is the Bhavad Bhavam for the 10th house. And now Jupiter is aspecting the 7th house. So what it shows is the person with the Jupiter in the third house get a very positive partners. The person with the Jupiter in the third house is always engaged with their partners from the teaching perspective. That is, they will be always teaching something to their partners. Okay, so it will create a bond between them, like he will work as a mentor to their spouse in some area of their life. Okay, from third house, Jupiter also aspects the ninth house of the horoscope. Ninth house is all about the higher belief, optimism, spirituality, religious inclination, philosophical attitude, and Jupiter feels home with this house. Okay, so when Jupiter aspects the ninth house from the third house, what it shows is it is giving blessings to the ninth house of the horoscope. So the ninth house significations are getting expanded with this aspect. Okay, from the ninth aspect, the third house Jupiter is aspecting the 11th house. What is 11th house? 11th house is the house of expansion. Jupiter is the planet of expansion. The planet of expansion is aspecting the house of expansion. So you can imagine what's going to happen. 11th house is the house of the networking and connecting with the larger organizations, and more so socializing in the life. Okay, so when a person, so the person with the Jupiter in the third house aspects the 11th house, so he is always connecting with the spiritual minded person. So he's always connecting with the spiritual minded people who will help him grow, who will, once they connect, will give them some next level opportunity for the Jupiter in the third house person. Okay, so yes, this was Jupiter in third house, as much as I could hold, grasp and share with you guys. If you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing, hit that like button, subscribe if you aren't already, and sending you tons of positive energy, sending you high vibes. See you in the next videos. Love and peace.